going on, Merc fam? In today's review, we're going to be going over a very special series released on Disney Plus called Loki. I don't know if you guys have heard, but this show is supposed to change the MCU forever. But look, before we get into that, I want to make sure that everybody likes, subscribes, and go ahead and tap that notification bell one time for your boy. I just want to make sure that everything I post, you are aware of. Now, without further ado, let's jump into this Loki review. Alright, now I know that a lot of you may be wondering who the flip is Loki, right? You don't know him, he doesn't sound familiar, you don't watch Marvel movies. That's cool. I'm gonna help you guys out real quick. Thor is actually the brother of Loki, right? So the main character in this show that we're watching is Thor's brother. Now in the first Avengers, he was actually the villain, right? Come to find out, he was working for somebody who was working for somebody who was working for Thanos, right? Essentially, what we've seen from Loki is a lot of growth in the past 10 years, okay? In every single movie that he's appeared in, ultimately, Loki goes through a lot of growth throughout the Marvel history. We've literally seen him go from the ultimate villain to, he might be a pretty good sidekick guy, right? To the point that in the final movie, he steps up and becomes who he was supposed to become. That is something that we got to see in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that made us happy. Just as cool as it was to see Captain America yield Thor's hammer, it was nice to finally see Loki step up, be a man, and take accountability for his actions. Full spoiler warning for those who have not seen Endgame, shame on you. This is something that you should have seen by now. You shouldn't be watching Marvel series if you're not caught up on the Infinity Saga, straight up. Unfortunately, those actions were cut short because Thanos did kill him in the beginning of Endgame, and Thor really went through it, right? So I'm gonna use that moment to segue into this series and do a little bit of explanation for those, again, who don't know exactly how this is tying into everything. What I'm gonna do is explain to you the premise of the Loki show, right? So like I said, Loki is dead in this time frame, but what happened was Captain America, Ant-Man, and Tony Stark went back into 2012 to the first Avengers movie, and what their plan to do there was to get the Tesseract from Loki so that they can use it to go fight Thanos in the future. Not only do they mess up the entire heist, right? They actually let the Tesseract slide across the room. Loki grabs it and disappears, right? And that's pretty much all that we got to see in Endgame, because what they ended up doing was going further back in time to go do blah, blah, blah. We're not talking about that. We just want to focus in on that one moment when Loki grabs the Tesseract and disappears in the past. I know. It's very convoluted, right? If you don't know what's going on in the Marvel movies, this is really hard to grasp, right? This isn't something that you could just watch and just, I'm just gonna hop along. Kevin Feige does a really good job of explaining to you all this during the show, but sometimes you gotta dumb it down for those who may not know all of these intricate details of all the Marvel movies. So the Loki in this show is not the Loki that we grew to love, who stood up like a man and was accountable for his actions. No, the Loki that we're focusing on in this show is the one who tried to take over the world back in 2012. Remember, I said that they went back in the past, he got the Tesseract and escaped. This show actually picks up from that exact moment, right? As soon as Loki disappears, he ends up in some desert somewhere, and the Time Variant Authority comes to stop him. Now, I know you're thinking to yourself, what the hell is a Time Variant Authority? What they really are time police. And they're trying to keep the main timeline as intact as possible. Some variants go off and they do bad, veering from their normal path, and the TVA, the time police, have to essentially come in and they make you pay for messing up the timeline. Like I said in my trailer review, I had a feeling that Loki was either gonna have to do the time or help solve some crimes, right? This looks like a crime thriller-esque type movie. Now, we've got Owen Wilson, who is playing Morbius, and he's kind of like a lead detective of the time police, right? And he essentially wants to use Loki to help him find his bad guy who's going around killing these Minutemen. And the Minutemen are kind of like, police officers out in the street, okay? And he's the head detective. Morbius is just trying to make sure that no more of his men die and that this adversary is locked up. I really enjoyed the way they made Loki understand what's going on. They didn't just come out with it and say, hey, look, Loki, you died, buddy. I really enjoyed the flashback scenes that he saw that made him understand what he was doing and the path he was going to end up on if he kept going that way. Initially, I didn't want to spoil so many things about the episode, but as we continue to talk about it, I can't help but wanting to tell you little details. So if you want to step away from this, go watch the show and come back, now is a good time. During my trailer review for this show, I speculated that Loki was going to have to go up against himself, which I find very cool that my fan theory played out. I don't know if it's going to be a woman Loki, kid Loki, king Loki, but at the end of the day, that's who the bad guy of this show is going to be. I feel that they put so much emphasis on the multiverse and the danger of fracturing the multiverse that I think that's exactly what Loki's going to do. He's going to break this shit, and it's going to lead into either Doctor Strange, it's going to lead into No Way Home, that is the third Spider-Man film, and I'm super excited to see how these all tie into each other. Remember that Wanda is doing something on her own from WandaVision, okay? So that's not the last time we're going to see her, and you already know we're going to see Falcon and Winter Soldier again. But I think that that's what Marvel is going for, especially with this show. I mean, think about it. Not only did they kind of redo the first couple scenes of that first Avengers movie, I mean, we got to see Thor and Loki and Captain America all together from that 2012 Avengers scene. It just makes me feel that at some point in the future, this is all going to tie into Thanos and Captain America and Tony Stark. I know that that's a stretch, but just seeing what I saw in this first episode, I have to feel that way. The way that they made the Infinity Stone seem so insignificant just proves to you the power of the time variant authority, right? And I think that what Loki is going to do is what I thought he was going to do in the trailer, right? He's going to manipulate them and let them think he's helping them, but really he's doing what the he wants to do. And I think it's going to be a play on no matter what he does, he's going to be creating what the problem is, right? Like, so in a lot of movies, when they know the future, they try to stop it. Like in That's So Raven, she wants to stop her visions, but inevitably ends up causing them, okay? I think that's exactly what this show is going to do, and it's going to introduce us to a lot of cool shit, and I cannot wait to see the next episode. For some reason, I thought that these all premiered on Fridays, but apparently it's Wednesdays now. Oh, okay, Marvel, we're just going to change up our premiere days. I love it, all right? But what did you guys think of this review? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you love it? Only way that I'm going to know is if you put your input in on my comments, and we can have a full-on discussion of it. I really enjoyed this episode. Of course, I'm not going to give it a rating because we got to watch the entire season. But before we get out of here, I want to send a special thanks to everybody that's liking, subscribing, and sharing. I really appreciate the love, and I'm going to continue to reciprocate that energy by giving you all great content. But you already know what it is, man. It's been a pleasure. It's your boy, Merc, but I'm out.
Take the wheel, it's going out of control. I ain't got a flex, but my money swole. I'm flying real life, nigga, not just pose. Hands down, I'm the man now. You better do your research before I air it out. I'm smoking on reefer and it's very loud.